Guilty verdict: Ijoma Okoro, an Aubrey woman, was found guilty of a romance scam. She targeted vulnerable individuals. Okoro used fake identities to build relationships. Her aim was to steal money. The court found her guilty. This verdict is a victory. It protects people from emotional and financial abuse. Okoro now faces serious consequences. Her actions had a devastating impact on many lives. This case highlights an important issue. Romance scams are on the rise. We need to be vigilant and protect ourselves and our loved ones. Okoro's scheme was cold and calculated. She targeted lonely hearts. Often her victims were elderly. She used dating websites and social media. Her goal was to gain their trust. Okoro created fake profiles. She used stolen pictures. She invented sob stories. All this was to manipulate her victims. She convinced them she was in love. She then asked for money. Her reasons were always urgent. She needed money for medical bills, legal fees, or travel expenses. Victims believed they were helping someone they loved. They drained their savings. They went into debt. Some even lost their homes. Okoro's greed had no bounds. Romance scams are a serious crime. The Justice Department is committed to fighting this. I praise the victims. They came forward. They shared their stories. Their courage was essential to the case. It's important to hold perpetrators accountable. Law enforcement is dedicated to protecting vulnerable communities. We are working to prevent future scams. The financial devastation of these scams is significant. Victims suffer significant losses. Some never recover. The IRSCI is committed to investigating financial crimes, including romance scams. We warn potential scammers. The IRSCI is dedicated to bringing you to justice. To the public, be cautious. Be wary of online relationships. If someone you met online asks for money, be suspicious. Report any suspicious activity to the authorities immediately. The anatomy of a romance scam, from dating sites to desperation. In the digital age, finding love online has become increasingly common. However, this convenience comes with its own set of dangers. Romance scams follow a pattern. Scammers create fake profiles. They use stolen images, often of attractive individuals, to lure their victims. They target people looking for love and companionship. They build trust meticulously, often spending weeks or even months communicating with their targets. They shower victims with attention. They share personal stories. They even invent tragedies. These stories are designed to evoke sympathy and create a deep emotional connection. All this is to manipulate emotions. The scammer's goal is to make the victim feel a strong bond, making it easier to exploit them later. Once trust is established, the requests for money begin. The reasons vary. Sometimes it's a sudden medical emergency that requires immediate funds. It could be a medical emergency. The scammer might claim they need money for surgery or treatment, playing on the victim's compassion. It could be a business opportunity. They might present a lucrative investment that requires a small initial contribution, promising huge returns. It could be travel expenses to finally meet in person. Scammers use pressure tactics, insisting that meeting in person will solidify their relationship. They prey on the victim's emotions. They create a sense of urgency, making the victim feel that if they don't act quickly, they will lose the relationship. They make them feel guilty for not helping. Victims often send money, believing they are supporting someone they care deeply about. They believe they are helping someone they love. The hope of a future together blinds them to the red flags, making them easy prey for these heartless scammers. Federal agencies unite against romance scammers. This case was a team effort. Multiple federal agencies were involved. The FBI, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the IRSCI all played a role. This collaboration is crucial. It allows for a comprehensive approach to fighting these crimes. Each agency brings its expertise. Together, they can effectively investigate and prosecute scammers. This case demonstrates the commitment of federal agencies. They are dedicated to protecting the public. They are working tirelessly to bring perpetrators of romance scams to justice. The human cost victims share their stories. In this chapter, we delve into the personal accounts of those who have fallen prey to romance scams. These are not just statistics. They are real people with real lives, dreams, and emotions. Behind the numbers are real people. Victims of romance scams suffer deeply. They experience financial loss, emotional trauma, and social isolation. The impact of these scams goes far beyond the immediate loss of money. It affects their mental health, their relationships, and their overall sense of trust in the world. One victim, a retired teacher, shared her story. She lost her life savings to a scammer. She thought she had found love. Instead, she found herself alone and broke. Her dreams of a peaceful retirement were shattered, and she was left to pick up the pieces of her life, questioning every decision she had made. Another victim, a widower, spoke of the shame he felt. He was embarrassed to admit he had been scammed. He kept it a secret from his family and friends. The emotional toll was immense, as he struggled with feelings of betrayal and self-doubt, wondering how he could have been so easily deceived. These stories highlight the devastating impact of romance scams. Victims often blame themselves. They feel foolish and ashamed. The psychological scars can be long-lasting, affecting their ability to trust others and even themselves. They may withdraw from social interactions, fearing judgment and ridicule. It is important to remember that they are not to blame. They are victims of a crime. Scammers are skilled manipulators who exploit the vulnerabilities of their targets. By sharing these stories, we hope to raise awareness and provide support to those affected. No one should have to suffer in silence, and together we can work towards preventing these heart-wrenching scams from claiming more victims. Sentencing Day. A day that marks the culmination of a long and arduous legal process. Ijeoma Okoro faces the consequences. Today she stands in the courtroom, a somber expression on her face as she prepares to hear her fate. Ijeoma Okoro awaits her sentence. The weight of her actions and the reality of the situation are evident in her demeanor. She faces a lengthy prison term. The severity of her crimes has led to this moment, where the possibility of spending years behind bars looms large. The judge will consider the severity of her crimes. Each detail, each piece of evidence will be meticulously reviewed to ensure a fair and just sentence. The impact on the victims will also be a factor. Their pain, their suffering, and the emotional toll of Okoro's actions will weigh heavily in the judge's decision. The prosecution will argue for a harsh sentence. They will present a compelling case, emphasizing the need for justice and the importance of holding Okoro accountable. They will highlight the calculated nature of Okoro's actions. The meticulous planning, the deceit, and the deliberate intent to defraud will be brought to light. They will emphasize the devastating impact on the victims. Heart-wrenching impact statements will be read, detailing the emotional and financial ruin caused by Okoro's scheme. The defense may ask for leniency. They will argue that Okoro deserves a chance at redemption, a chance to make amends for her actions. They may cite Okoro's lack of prior criminal history. Her clean record, they will argue, should be taken into consideration when determining her sentence. They may argue for a sentence that focuses on rehabilitation. The defense will advocate for programs that can help Okoro reform and reintegrate into society. The judge's decision will send a message. It will reflect the seriousness of the crime and the justice system's stance on such offenses. It will show the consequences of exploiting others for personal gain. For the victims, this moment may bring a sense of closure, a step towards healing. It will serve as a deterrent to others who may consider engaging in similar crimes. The legal consequences demonstrated here will underscore the risks and repercussions of fraudulent activities. As the courtroom empties, the somber atmosphere lingers. The weight of the day's events will be felt by all who were present. The gavel, a symbol of justice, has spoken. The law has taken its course and the consequences are clear. For Ijeoma Okoro, the closing of the prison gates symbolizes the end of her freedom, a stark reminder of the price of her actions. The victims leave the courtroom, a mix of relief and sorrow on their faces. They carry with them the hope that justice has been served. Outside the courtroom, discussions about the case continue. The community reflects on the impact of the trial and the importance of accountability. The legal process, with its complexities and challenges, has reached its conclusion. Justice, in its many forms, has been delivered. As the sun sets over the courthouse, it symbolizes the end of a chapter. A new beginning awaits, shaped by the lessons learned and the justice served. Protecting the vulnerable, a call for awareness. This case is a wake-up call. We need to protect ourselves and our loved ones from romance scams. Awareness is key. Educate yourself about the tactics scammers use. Be cautious when engaging in online relationships. Never send money to someone you have never met in person. If you suspect you are a victim of a romance scam, report it immediately. Contact your local law enforcement agency. You can also file a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3. Justice prevails, but the fight continues. The conviction of Ijeoma Okoro is a victory for justice. It sends a strong message. Romance scams will not be tolerated, however, the fight is far from over. Romance scams are on the rise. They are becoming increasingly sophisticated. We must remain vigilant. We must continue to educate ourselves and others about this growing threat. By working together, we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from becoming victims. We can ensure that justice continues to prevail.